I knew that I wanted a big, glamorous gala event. And I wanted it to be one of those events where really everything was perfect.
The Gala, which is the set that we're shooting in the Scuola Grande di Misericordia. There are 5 scuole in Venice. And as I understand it, they were kind of like community organizations or charitable organizations or something like that, different from a church.
So I first thought, wow, this Misericordia is beautiful because it has that rough, modern feel while being, a 500-year-old building.
And this one is this kind of ruin. I understand it was never quite completed and is built in the 16th century. There's another entire space as big on top of this, which has these 16th century frescoes on the wall, and it was used until recently as a basketball court.
It has those unfinished walls. It has those rough stone pillars.
The space is incredibly beautiful. It gives you this very formal geometry, and the idea was to contrast the elegance of the ball to the raw classical simplicity of the space.
For me, there really was just one possible production designer for this film, and that was John Huttman. He has done so many films where the glamour and beauty do not stand in the way of emotion.
With Venice, you can't just be interior, you have to show. So John Huttman built the gala room, it had to be on a scale that would match what the movie is, and that's what he managed to do.
We luckily have the advantage of having shot the kind of in-process version of that set, and it would be interesting to look at the original photos of what the location looks like kind of raw.
When I first saw the location, I thought, wow, we have a lot of changes to do here because it didn't have the 2 levels that I needed for it to play in a story. I needed Atchison, Paul Bettany's character, always to be watching from this balustrade up there. And I needed the action downstairs to be able to take place naturally.
So we took the space, we added the balcony in the back, we added the balconies in the side, which hopefully you don't really notice, and then built the stage for the orchestra and the dance floor.
I wanted it to feel bright, but still have that almost candle-lit feel. And I thought if we added to that the sweetness of the right kind of lamps and mirrors and lit this in the right way and gave it a perfect stage with musicians, especially cellos, which I find are such beautiful instruments, then somehow that would all work together.
But the real design gesture is that we wrapped each of the columns with this antique marble that our brilliant painter Tommaso created and put a beautiful crystal sconce on each column so that as Elise and Frank dance, you have this kind of glittering, sparkling background. So I would say what we tried to do is add this level of glamour to a place that has a kind of formal elegance, but kind of raw elegance.
John Huttman is a genius, and he got the movie as well and got the elegance that had to be the movie.
He designed it so meticulously that I couldn't tell what was added on, what was adjusted, and he makes every room I want to live in, so I'd like to live in his world.
When she goes to the ball, what Florian wanted was the feeling that she's walking into an absolute fantasy world. So that was the challenge there, to make it feel like it's a fantasy, but still it's very much a scene that is rooted in reality.
I wanted it to be the kind of party that you would want to live in, that it really hypnotizes you with the beauty of costumes. And Colleen Atwood really is the greatest costume designer, you could even think up. I mean, if I were going to invent a costume designer in a screenplay that I wrote, I couldn't come up with someone better than Colleen Atwood.
The dress for the gala scene was something that was really a dress that was a frame for her personage and also a frame for the beautiful necklace. So we wanted a dress that was really feminine, that hearkened maybe to another time and another elegance, but didn't take away from the necklace. And it framed Angelina's face and her whole kind of body beautifully.
Colleen is a genius. She's extraordinary. She's kind of a magician with clothing. And she has this just really exquisite tastes.
The other actors in the scene I had pre-fit earlier because I knew they were going to be at that scene, so they all had their various versions of tuxedos ready.
One of the downsides of it is, as an actor, you put on a tuxedo and you think, yeah, not bad. And then you arrive into an enormous great room where they have 300 models and they're Italian. Okay, so you think you're looking all right until you walk into a room full of 6'4" Italian beauties. and frankly, I've had enough of that.
Every one of these extras has the most exquisite costumes.
We had over 300 people, and we had to dress them in one place, and they walked over the bridge because you couldn't really do a boat to the location, so they had this little long walk through the bridge to the set. So it was a whole different kind of feeling in that sense than your average movie.
They all look a bit too good for my liking. Get some short, fat people in there and put them around me. Enough of these tall people.
The next step in the gala was, of course, the dancers are cast later and fitting them and going through the process with their costumes.
These dresses, Colleen, the costume designer, really helped me out. She made it possible because she actually had to add pieces of stretch fabric.
I began the fittings a month before because to do the alterations to the work takes quite a bit of time.
We have about 22 couples, professional dancers, plus we have about 200 other people, local people, extras. And we didn't know what the music was going to be like. We didn't know if it was going to be a waltz, a tango. So the dancing is actually a mix of all things, from waltz to tango to other things.
There were all those challenges. I ended up writing something that felt like a very luxurious kind of, almost like, you know, a kid might feel when a little girl might feel when they're walking into the Disneyland castle for the first time. Yeah, it was just kind of a magical quality to it.
It was very challenging, I have to say, because this scene wasn't planned. I mean, they had the scene in the movie, but they didn't have the dancing in the movie. Especially for Johnny and Angelina, it wasn't planned for them to dance. It was a bit of a shock for them too.
That was the response. But then because they love and trust Florian, they got into it. So they've been rehearsing, and I think they do very well.
And Florian was very passionate about actually having them two dancing and having this dancing that looks like a movie from the 50s, 40s.
Johnny was terrified of the idea of dancing, but I knew that he was such a musical person that he could probably dance better than any of us.
Angelina, I have to say, is pretty amazing. She's very elegant, very natural. She hears music. She moves very well.
We're both a little shy about the waltzing, so we'll see how that goes.